Good evening, folks. This is Deb. So, sorry about that. I've actually tested negative tonight, and I am back at work tomorrow. So, I am going to be hitting the sack early tonight, but there are a few things we need to go over. One of which I know I've brought up before, but I am going to bring this up again because it's personally offensive to me. Okay. Once again, and I'm not going to mention any names, but we have a follower on this channel who continues to allege that Stephanie White is an activist coach because she doesn't talk about Caitlin Clark. She only talks about the gay players on the team. So let's get one thing straight here so that this is all out in the open, because I'm 71. I have not been in the closet since I was 23. Okay. And I'm not hiding it now. I'm a member of the LGBTQ plus community. Okay. So I get really pissed off when I read stuff like this because I know Stephanie White is a member of the LGBTQ plus community. So let's get something straight here. We're going to take this in stages because I'm not going to entertain any more comments like this. The next time, I'm instantly blocking people from the channel. This is not what this channel is about. And that allegation is a flat out lie. There are only two players on the Indiana Fever who identify as LGBTQ plus, and that's Sydney Colson and Natasha Howard. Stephanie White does not continually talk about either of those players. She does not. Okay? That's number one. Number two, only 30% of the WNBA identifies as LGBTQ plus. 30%. That makes the overwhelming majority of the WNBA heterosexual women. Okay? That's number two. Number three, a lot of Caitlin Clark's more toxic fans, and there are some out there, want Stephanie White to talk about nobody on the team but Caitlin Clark. That is something that Caitlin Clark does not expect. Okay? But it is something that some of her fans expect. Stephanie White is running a team, not a Caitlin Clark fan club. She has said plenty of good things about Caitlin Clark. When she was asked in an interview what she thought of Caitlin Clark taking three-pointers, she said flat out to the reporter, "Does anyone tell Steph Curry not to shoot three-pointers?" Stephanie White has also said when Caitlin Clark wasn't hitting her three-pointers at the beginning of this year, that she wasn't worried about Caitlin Clark getting her shooting chops back. She has done nothing but compliment Caitlin Clark's participation from the sideline all year long. Now, there is a difference between being a Caitlin Clark fan and the coach of the Indiana Fever. So let's get that straight here. But the constant commentary about the woke WNBA and the activist coaching of Stephanie White is not going to be tolerated on this channel. I hear enough of that garbage in my activist life. And by the way, to that person, I happen to be a political activist in my other life. Okay? I have been an LGBTQ activist all my life. I have been a women's rights activist all my life. And I will not change any of that particularly not in this toxic climate we are in America. So I want to get that off the table now because I'm not listening to this shit anymore. There are plenty of other YouTube channels who talk about the woke WNBA, okay? You know who they are. You know who they are, okay? Would you like me to name them? Skip Bayless is one of those guys, okay? Keep the Vision is one of those guys, okay? You can go there and get your bigotry fix, okay? But it's not going to happen on my channel. If you do not like the fact that the WNBA is LGBTQ inclusive, then go do something else with your time. Okay? But don't come on my channel because I'm not here for the numbers. I'm here for basketball. That's number one. Number two. The discussion, I'm getting back to basketball now. I just wanted to clear the air. Moving without the ball. I'm going to say this again. It's a basic tenet of professional basketball, whether it's the NBA or the WNBA. Okay? It is in the Red Auerbach Book of Rules. For anyone who remembers Red Auerbach and was a Celtics fan, he was continually talking about moving without the ball all the way back to the 60s. It's not a new concept. Now, have I changed my overall viewpoint on Stephanie White? Over the course of this year, I have admittedly done so. And I have admittedly done so because at one point at the beginning of this season, I was watching some of the brainless YouTube content creators who were twisting words, twisting facts, and smearing Stephanie White for her coaching style. But moving without the ball has never been not part of basketball. No, Caitlin Clark is not a small forward. But if Caitlin Clark does nothing but handle the ball 24/7 coming up the court the same way every time without passing it off, moving without the ball, and getting it back, Caitlin Clark will not be very successful as a point guard. Moving without the ball is critical even for guards, and that includes point guards. Dennis Johnson is without a doubt my favorite point guard in NBA history. I love the guy. Okay, I thought Dennis Johnson and Larry Bird was a deadly combination. Dennis Johnson knew how to move without the ball. Okay, Dennis Johnson knew how to give up the ball, move around and get it back and make it count for either an assist or a score. Whatever was the most advantageous to his team, not to himself. Because to play on a team means you give up your selfishness. That's what team sports are. This isn't golf. This isn't tennis. This is basketball. There are 5 players on the floor at all times. And your ability to win ball games comes from being selfless, not selfish. So what does moving without the ball do for you? Okay? It allows you to get open. Okay? It allows you to cut with purpose. It allows you to find a better avenue to the basket rather than you driving all the way up the floor and driving into traffic, as opposed to looking at the floor and figuring out the best way to get the ball in the hoop, okay? It allows you to use fakes and screens. It allows you to be mindful of spacing the floor out, okay? It is an essential part of professional basketball, and I'm going to say it again. Caitlin Clark is not going to be playing Iowa women's collegiate ball in the WNBA. She has said the biggest difference between college hoops and the WNBA is the physicality and the defense. And that means you need to learn to move without the ball. They did not play much defense in college ball compared to the WNBA. And I will say it again. College players who do not adjust to the WNBA do not have very successful careers, okay? Or very long careers, quite frankly. Now, how people can criticize what has gone on with Caitlin Clark this year is absurd to me. She's only played 13 games. And in those 13 games, we watched her not shoot three-pointers very successfully. She had no shortage of attempts, okay? I was at one of the games where she had no shortage of three-point attempts. And I didn't see Stephanie White at that game telling her not to shoot those shots. The problem with Caitlin Clark this year was that she played very few games where she was 100% healthy. Okay? I maintain that in those 13 games she was on the floor, her legs were never healthy. Not healthy enough to allow her to use her legs the way she does to shoot three-pointers or to even cut to the basket properly. Her year physically was a struggle for her. So let's all relax, because Caitlin Clark will be back in May of next year, and she will be 100% in game shape, and she will be back with a vengeance. Now, let's just get on to a couple of informational things. Stephanie White was fined $1,000 for joining Becky Hammond in criticizing the referees for their playoff officiating. So that was announced today. So she has joined the fray and has been fined for that. And it's not the first time Stephanie White's been fined for criticizing the referees this year. So plenty of teams have had plenty to complain about all throughout this playoff run, okay? All throughout the playoff run. And I have said from the beginning that the officiating needs to be addressed in the off season. You know, we can't, or we shouldn't, not that we can't, because we probably could. We can't go into the 2026 season with this debacle of officiating going on. It's actually quite horrible. And it's not just been horrible on the Fever, it's been horrible across the board. Okay? But the notion that people are deliberately calling games to fix them is absurd, because not one of the coaches that has been complaining has said that. That's again coming from YouTube content creators and WNBA fans who pick up on the chatter from those YouTube content creators. Because if that was going on, if the fix was in, I promise you, there would be no shortage of evidence to prove that. There is always a paper trail or an information trail or someone who can't keep their mouth shut and sings. It's impossible for there to be that kind of a conspiracy that goes completely under the rug in such a high-stakes environment. So spare me all of that as well. I'm not going to become a conspiracy theory channel either. My channel is about, number one, Caitlin Clark. Number two, women's basketball, women's professional basketball. And if I can get my act together, taking a look at women's college hoops in the off season, I'm going to be following the CBA negotiations. We're going to be following free agency. We're going to be following coach maneuvers. We're going to be doing all of that. But I am not going to talk about the woke WNBA, conspiracy theories, or any such nonsense. Okay? That's not for me. That's not this channel. So finally, we're going to close with a new Caitlin Clark highlight reel. Now, I'm sure some of the stuff in this highlight reel, I'm sure has appeared in other highlight reels that I have shown. But it doesn't matter because it never gets old. So once again, I will put the link to this video in the description of this particular video. And I will also put it under the post section of my YouTube channel. So in other words, you go to the front page of the channel that has all the videos on it. At the top, there's this thing called posts. And if you click on that, all of the links to all of these videos are in there. There's a ton of stuff in there already. So that's it for tonight. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 9:30, Game 5. By the way, another thing I wanted to talk about. Everybody at the beginning of the season was absolutely convinced that the Lynx were the team to beat. The Lynx have been knocked out now by the Mercury. So whoever is the victor tomorrow night will be facing the Phoenix Mercury, not the Minnesota Lynx, which only goes to prove that anything can happen in the WNBA. So once again, let's get on with this video. I'm not going to show all of it. It's about 8 minutes long. I'm going to show, a few minutes of it. And then you guys can go take a look at the rest of it. This is called Caitlin Clark destroying the WNBA for 8 minutes straight. Hang on.
Tonight.
Are you talking about my high school experience? Clark connects!
The young one here, Caitlin Clark, just dancing with the basketball, going to her left, stepping into it.
Back Bentley. Here's Clark, a good look from three. She got it! The first.
Caitlin Clark does not need much space here.
Is this shooting? That was a wild sequence there. Clark the switch on to Dolson, steps back and buries a triple. Turns, ducks in, back Bentley stays with her, blocked from behind, that was Clark. Now Clark looking to push, cross-court pass. Pull, back to Clark, she will launch and bury a three. Second quarter, and Clark doing it with some defense. Comes up with the block, and then Lexi Hull finds her. Fever back within 4.
Chant of defense by the Sparks fans. 6 on the shot clock. Clark, a deep three! Oop, that is! Where one guard is just a lot stronger than the other because of her experience and maturity.
Nice look from Clark, and Smith lays it home. So you have 2 assists and a bucket on the first 3 possessions.
Quarter we have seen Caitlin Clark play, showing what made her such. Clark, the feet underneath, back Binley working against Giroux. What a move there!
About with Caitlin Samuelson at the 4.
Clark bounce pass, it's Smith again.
to the bucket. Just a great delivery. I mean, putting it on the money.
Can't hit the long two. Stays here with Indiana. Clark, a deep one. You bet! A Brooklyn logo bomb. Kimbrough, she will launch. Samuelson, nice pass there to Clark. Clark behind the back. Oh, it's Smith with the finish. Brilliance from Caitlin Clark.
Here's just 25. How about back? Binley running the floor there.
Probing, drags out Nelson Adota. Clark will fire and hit the three. Caitlin Clark with her third three of the night.
What a pass. And Wallace.
Got a little separation.
Clark circling around, sets up Samuelson, who's wide open, and catches it.
Absolutely blown the roof off.
But playing at UConn, she is used to all of this. Oh, Caitlin Clark, rookie on rookie crime.
Clark has space. She's going to let it fly, and she's going to connect. Oh, Caitlin Clark.
Able to clear for Indiana.
Caitlin coming off that 20-point performance right here. Handling the physicality with which Caitlin Clark handles right here. She crosses sides of the floor. She gets her hips and shoulders past Laney, and she leans.
Have opened up 0-4 from the floor. Clark, good feed inside. It's Samuelson. Lukic hounding Clark. Clark, step back three. Knocks it down. Take a look here at a career first.
Just step back, going right, I may add. It's usually step back, going left.
Clark over Horston, hits a three. No bounds.
Horston's got to come with hands up. You can't let Clark see them.
Picked up by Clarendon. Break there to help. Nice pass back to Binley.
To the Commissioner's Cup final. What a dish. Down the floor. Wallace. The finish plus the foul. On a beautiful delivery from Clark.
For Caitlin Clark's game, the deep three is one, and the get-ahead is another. Oftentimes, it's utility from three for the Sparks. 0 for 9, and Caitlin Clark says, "You gonna give me?"
He fell to the aces in 4 games. Clark connects on a three.
Caitlin Clark here gets the switch on the screen. Small
Change left to play here in the first quarter. Caitlin Clark pulls it back, knocks it down. Her third three of the quarter.
Gets denied by Boston. Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
Look at Wheeler staring to the right side, knows who's there. Drop pass behind. Could be the deepest shot we've seen Caitlin Clark make as a pro.
Big up in the arms of Indiana. Great look. Smith able to finish off the top.
So far, 0 for 5 from distance.
Clark finds Boston in the lane, uses that left hand.
It sure was. Top 4 scorers at the college level here in this one as Caitlin Clark, and now back-to-back buckets.
Katie Lou Samuelson, it's about muscle memory and the ability to self-correct. Clark trying to answer, and does. With a
Only 3 points in the second half. She had 13 in the first half, but has picked up a triple-double here today and gets the end one.
That's where one guard is just a lot stronger than the other because of her experience and maturity.
nice look from Clark, and Smith lays it home. So you have 2 assists and a bucket on the first 3 possessions.
So, needless to say, none of that talent has gone anywhere. She's been injured most of the season, okay? In fact, only played 13 games. In between being continually injured because she came back after being out for 2 weeks instead of taking the appropriate time. And now we, of course, have people saying that because she's jumping up and down on the sideline, she looks perfectly healthy and they're keeping her out of the game on purpose. You know what, folks? Just stop it, okay? There's a difference between jumping up and down on the sidelines and making cuts to the basket and having to use your legs to launch logo threes. Okay? Any idiot with any kind of basketball sense knows that. So next year, right? Next year, I anticipate Caitlin Clark to come back with a vengeance. And she will play basketball like a pro, not like Iowa college basketball. She will come back like a pro, and she will make her teammates, whoever they may be, and I maintain it's not going to be this team, she'll make them all better players on the floor as the league's premier point guard. That's what I got tonight. Tomorrow night will be figuring out who plays the Phoenix Mercury in the finals. I will see you guys tomorrow night after the game. Have a great night.